This episode with Diana Davis is a banger, which is why, even with the atrocious audio and technical issues that I had on my end, I am still deciding to full send on this episode because there was just truly magic created on this episode. We talk about everything from sowing the seeds of connection inside of your community and even before your community. We talk about Diana's decision to make a paid community when everyone told her to make a free community. We talk about the fiasco of the 2-week free trial at the very end of this episode, so make sure that you tune in all the way to the end. There are some gold nuggets waiting for you. Welcome to Dear Bri, an advice column for community conundrums, fiascos, and drama. This season of Dear Bri is sponsored by our friends over at Heartbeat. Heartbeat is an all-in-one community platform, and it's the one I chose to host my own community. Your members can finally have events, conversation, content, and even courses in one distraction-free, intimate, customized home. I chose Heartbeat for 3 reasons. First, Heartbeat is unparalleled in their events management features. Events are a core part of my community architecture, and their features make my life so much easier. Second is segmentation. It's super easy to break my community into smaller, more niche subgroups and create a more customized experience for that group in Heartbeat. And finally, their courses. Being able to host my educational materials and learning journey in a community-first platform makes my community that much more valuable and retention that much stickier. I'm an affiliate with Heartbeat, which means when you sign up through my link in the show notes, I get paid a small amount at no extra charge to you. Thank you for supporting my work in that way. And finally, I usually record this podcast from Hawaii Island, so a special thank you to the Kanaka Maoli people on whose land I currently reside. Today's guest is a business coach and founder of Recess for Creatives. Getting laid off from corporate was one of the best things that ever happened to her. It led her to build a multi-6-figure photography and design business in New York City. And now she helps other creatives do the same their way by building human brands, ditching the hustle, and turning big, magical ideas into businesses that actually work. Please welcome to the podcast, Diana Davis. Diana, it's so good to have you. We met at a bar.
We did.
I love that for us. And to make matters better and worse, my psychic introduced us.
Yes.
I'm going to call Candace my psychic.
I love that.
Claim that. And I'm just going to leave that right there for everyone to enjoy.
I'm so here for it.
Thank you for joining me. Are you ready for the letter I've prepared for you?
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to listen.
Dear Bri, I run a coaching community where members participate in group coaching sessions, and while attendance and engagement during sessions are great, I'm struggling to get my members to provide more value to each other in between sessions. It feels like they're waiting for me to initiate conversations, offer advice, or suggest resources rather than organically interacting and sharing their insights with each other. I genuinely believe in the power of peer-to-peer learning and community-driven growth, but I can't seem to bridge the gap between my role as the educator and empowering members to support each other proactively. I've tried encouraging open discussions, initiating prompts, and creating opportunities for collaboration, but engagement between members outside of scheduled sessions remains minimal. I'm beginning to feel stuck. What am I missing? How can I foster an environment where members naturally feel inspired and confident enough to provide ongoing value to one another without relying solely on my guidance? Thanks so much for your insights. I look forward to the advice. Sincerely, seeking community connection. Now, Diana, this is like a huge question, huge problem.
Totally.
Why don't we start by you sharing a little bit about your community that you run,
Sure.
so we can get a little bit of the context for how you're entering the conversation.
Yeah. So a little background, quick story. I used to be a photographer and a graphic designer. When I lived in New York City, I worked in magazines. I got laid off, best day of my life, as Bri was saying. And I started my own photography business with a little bit of graphic design freelance on the side. I ran that for 3 years. then became a business coach for those creatives like me. So I coach everyone from photographers, designers, yogis, nutritionists, real estate agents, anyone with a heart-centered business who tends to have a hard time showing up, showing their face, being vulnerable, being the center of it all. They just want to do their work. They just want to do their art. They don't want to sell. They don't want to price their stuff. They don't want to be rejected. There's a lot, right? We're so heart-centered instead of head-centered, which is part of the hurdle. I created Recess for Creatives, which is my community, which then is a membership, because I had cultivated a community within my business and within my coaching clients already. So it was something that was already happening, and people were encouraging me to put a container around. I would get DMs like, Diane, I have 200 mutual connections with you because you've introduced me to so many people through your free masterclasses where I let people actually exchange Instagrams and actually network or personally connecting them. Maybe you should start a community and actually put walls around it. So for me, I think a lot of people end up creating a community out of nowhere and then building it. For me, I built a community for 7 years and then put like walls around it, right? So Recess for Creatives is a space where we don't have our nose in the math book like crazy. The whole point is to quote unquote, play kickball and get some ideas and connections via that versus having to show our business cards, showing face, or even coaching. I actually just got off a coaching call in Recess, which I only do once a quarter. The point of Recess is not for me to coach you. It's not to learn more on purpose. It's to have those epiphanies that we have during kickball when our creative flow is happening, to be in a room full of people as if it's a living room. We always say it's like a slumber party where you can wear your retainer with us. It's casual. The mask is off. You're with people who are like-minded, and therefore you end up getting more clients and end up growing your business and end up having these awesome epiphanies because you're finally giving yourself space. So it's a little bit different than, for example, this person writing in because they've built a business coaching community around their coaching and around their offer and service. So I'll stop there.
You nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. So this relates really well to the difference between what I call transformative communities, which are education-centric, and networking communities, which are connection-centric. And you clearly have built a beautiful connection-centric environment. And it's usually the gold standard of what everyone wants, but there's some things about that model that are deeply uncomfortable. So can you talk a little bit about what are some of the benefits of that design and that model that you've chosen? And then what are some of the things that you had to let go of because that's the structure that you chose?
Yeah, such a good way to put that and frame that question. I think it's a really big benefit to have a community like mine that's so connection-centric because it's not about me. I said literally today to them, I could take myself out of this and Recess would still be a brand. Someone could actually take it over. And yes, it's me who's cultivating the community and attracting the people, but we also do affiliates and stuff like that. So it's also the community attracting the community. And I can run it without me, which makes it feel so much less pressure. I use the analogy of like Recess has been this, because I have other offerings. Recess has been the older child in the corner playing by itself that's just doing great. And honestly could probably use some more love. But it's doing so great that I'm just like, you're doing great, babe. I've got other things over here I've got to take care of. Like mom will be back in an hour type of thing.
Or a week, or she might not. We don't know.
Or she might not. And so it's just this thing running without me. Yes, I show up to the events and I facilitate, but I'm truly only facilitating. I have an ask for advice space in Circle, and I don't pop in there unless I feel really called to. They are there to help each other. Do I, however, nudge people? I call myself a professional nudger. I am not afraid to get in the DMs and be like, hey, there's a recess event today. Are you coming? Haven't seen you in a while. I'm an accountability queen, and I know that my people need that. They're creatives, they have ADHD, they're overwhelmed. This is part of the deal. Do you have to do that to your clients? No. They're big girls and boys and they can do their thing. But I do think that's what keeps people going and keeps people in a lot of times. So whether that's like a community manager that does that, or I just like to have my hands in the pot, I do that mostly because I'm already in conversation with them, and it leads to me having a DM conversation with them where maybe they're going to buy something else you don't know. So I think that's a big piece of it. And a lot of people create these memberships, which are great, but they are so invested, and it feels almost like avoidant, anxious relationships and dating. It's like you start to become avoidant because the community needs you so much that you feel smothered. And then they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. It is a long-term commitment. You sell a year, you have to be there for a year, you have to refund people. So I think that's a big difference, and you have to decide what you want. However, the con, if you would call it a con, I think for my Gemini social self, it feels like a con, is I'm not part of the community. Like, even though a lot of these people are actually my friends, because a lot of my clients become my friends and vice versa, when I pop into the community as me, it's crickets. They actually don't want to hear from me. It's like I'm the teacher, like the chaperone on the playground, and they're like, don't ruin our kickball game. You're not cool. This is about us. So it's kind of a funky space of I can't mistake this as my community. I'm just the facilitator. But being the facilitator allows me to step back and not have so much weight on my shoulders and allow people to do the connecting themselves.
A professional nudger is golden. Somebody put it on a t-shirt. That's so good. And I know so many community managers will relate to that. The other thing I want to notice is, because I can literally like audibly hear in my mind, like people listening who are like, wait, like salivating. Like, that sounds so amazing. I just want to set up a space, and like, it sounds a little bit like, build it and they will come and they will provide all the value. And I know that it probably didn't start out that way, or it did, but it was because you took steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 31, 32, 72, 7 years of steps building the background and the foundation for this environment. And overnight success takes 7 to 10 years. That kind of thing. So tell us about some of those seeds that you planted early on. This could be in your like one-on-one coaching and your other offers. What are some of the seeds that you planted to get that result today?
Yeah, a lot of things, as you said, and I think it's really to debunk it, right? They were like out in the cold and I built them a shelter. It's like they were there already. I can't stress that enough. And I think so many people do the build it and they will come, and maybe they have 5 people. We had 100 people the first week, which is great, but they were already there. Most of them were alumni or people who had been hovering but didn't see an offer that wasn't $3,000. So backing way up, as a photographer, I made friends and community with my competition. Like, literally, that was the start of it. Saying, here's this photographer that got hired instead of me by this person. We had the exact same style. You literally couldn't even tell whose photos were whose. And let's make friends, right? And so that kind of ethos was always a part of my business, even though it didn't always feel good. It didn't feel good that she got hired instead of me, but it's about overcoming and going, how do I want to participate with this situation? And then we were passing back and forth gigs. When we couldn't do one, we'd pass it to the other, and we'd introduce each other to other photographers and people. She was the first person on my podcast. You just never know. Really having that ethos of community. If you want to build a community, you got to act like it. And that even goes to when someone DMs you and takes the time to respond to something, say a sentence back. Don't just double tap it or leave it on read. That doesn't make people feel like it's a community space or that you're a safe community leader. That feels like mean girls, cool girl, we only wear pink table. And the other thing is show that you're in community. So many of you out there are so afraid, and this is specifically social media, but anywhere, so afraid to tag someone else in scarcity of they're going to go to their page, they're going to hire them. When I have a masterclass, a free masterclass, I let everyone in the room share their Instagrams with each other. And a lot of coaches would be like, that is suicide. Do not do that, because they're going to hire each other. And it's great. If they hire each other, then that was meant to be, right? But it's like, we say we want to build a community, but we're not being in community or showing community. If your social media is always you solo, and maybe you even, I've seen so much of this, you show a video of someone else, but you don't tag them because you want to hide it in the corner. It's just like, we know, you can taste it. So all of these little things were things that fostered, hey, Diana's the community person. You're so good at building community. Literally on a call with my mentor, I'm support coaching for her group. She called me the queen of networking. Like, you want people to know that about you, but they can't if you don't act that way.
This podcast is sponsored by Ember Consulting, where I'm the founder and head community creator. At Ember, we help people who are familiar with running their business on content, coaching, or consulting become community powered. As you hear in this podcast, creating a community is really tough, and managing it can be even harder. So don't do it alone. Whether you're looking to launch a new community or pivot your strategy, our one-on-one consulting helps you skip the learning curve and do it right the first time. And when you're ready to belong to a space just for community creators learning, testing, and growing their communities together, check out the Ember community. Now, back to the episode.
I see in that too, like a deep belief that everything returns back to you, and really letting go of a limited time frame. Like, I think what the difference between creating a transactional relationship and a connected relationship is literally just the time frame. If I expect that's going to happen immediately, I'm going to give you something and you're going to give me something, that is now a transaction. As soon as my expectation for the give and get being immediate is now transactional. And what I heard you say was that you have a deep, grounded belief that when you give something out, it will come back to you, and you are okay with that taking however long it needs to take.
Yeah, I agree. For sure. I think you put that really well.
I also heard you say, if you want a community, act like you enjoy community, and the best place to turn for your most immediate community is your competition. Your community and your competition are 1 degree removed. So if you just keep moving that 1 degree, you'll be shocked with how that competition just turns right into your community.
Totally. I even have college classmates who have hired me, and college classmates who are in this community. I went to school for graphic design. You know, the people who are like, I want to start a new Instagram because only my high school and my college people follow me on this personal thing. I'm like, don't discount your people in your life. And also don't give them like a friends and family discount, in my opinion. Side note.
Say more.
I just think your friends and your family should be the people to support you first. Why would you discount that? They should be like the ones stoked to put money in your pocket if it is something that they want. Literally, my dad is on my email list, and I just launched this program called Human, and we're in the middle of running it. He was like, I feel like I'm getting your email newsletters, and I feel like I should buy it. Like, I want to buy it. And I had to tell him, like, Dad, I don't coach family, so you actually can't buy it. But even my dad is like, should I buy your program? Because I'm
God.
like a woodworker and I run my business. And I just think that should be the case. Like, you should want to invest in your people. So don't give away your art, your things, your skill set at a discount.
Yes. Discounting your offer for the people who are your champions is neither in service to you or in service to them.
Agreed.
We see this all the time for new community builders, and the root of it is fear. It's just fear that we don't know if our community is a good idea. We don't know if people are going to want it. And we address the people who that have the highest chance of buying it, either because they're people who, one, if I just started selling vacuums tomorrow, they would buy a vacuum. They just love me and they're going to buy anything and everything that I put my name on. Or it's people who legitimately, that could be a really valuable offer for them. And it is so common to offer like founder discounts and to start at the cheapest price for these people, which on the one hand, I understand bringing people together and like the kind of core foundation of your community. Like, you want those people to feel like they're getting the best possible rate because they're taking a chance on being an early adopter with you. And that I understand. But discounting it or offering it for free because you're like, well, they're closest to me, so they should, therefore, they merit this discount. That they don't get a discount because they're closer to you. They get a discount because they're opting in to put in more work in the beginning with you. That is why if the people closest to you and your most ardent champions aren't willing to buy, nobody else is going to be more willing to buy. And when people, I see them kind of fool themselves and think, well, I have this like really hot group of like champions and I want to just give them they can join for free. But then my YouTube following, like, they're really ready to buy. And I'm like, no one walking in off the street from YouTube is going to be more ready to buy than the person who's been in your audience and in your DMs for the last 2 years. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. I love even just the idea of your story views go down, for example, all week if you use Instagram. And by the end, you're going to have the least amount of people on there. Those should be the people you go and talk to because they are watching through every little thing you say. And maybe it's Aunt Sally. Understandable. It's also my mom. And that's not always going to be the person, but pay attention to those people because they're lurking.
Yes, that's really good. And also, for the record, I love that your dad is on your email list and wants to buy from you. And also, Dad, if you're ever listening, which I really hope you're not, you are not allowed on my email list.
I know, it was jolting. He was like, good luck with your human class. And I was like, wait. Where are you getting this? Why do you know about this?
Yeah, LinkedIn's like the safest social channel for me because I know that my parents aren't on it.
Right.
Oh, another piece here that I heard you serve up this challenge to folks who might be listening, which is you're not ready to not be the center of attention. Talk more about that.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, especially in the coaching world, I don't want to say it's inherently narcissistic, but maybe I do actually.
Maybe that's actually accurate.
Maybe it's accurate. No, for real though, there's some serious narcissist vibes going on there. And then we feed off that person and we imitate them. So whether you are or not, I think there's a lot of center of attention, pedestal, proximity vibes that we have to be really careful of. It's just, if that's your thing, amazing. People hire me because of me. People hire you because of your energy, right? And then your knowledge. But I do think if you're wanting to build something super sustainable, it can't just be all about you. It has to be about the content. It has to be about the connections. If you want to be the person in the spotlight, what happens when you can't show up that day? What happens when you need someone to fill in? What happens when you have a death in the family? What happens? So yeah, I think a lot of people do want to build this thing like I've built, that you're just a facilitator and you barely have to touch it. But also, they're not willing to do that because it takes them out of the equation. And maybe they're in business, maybe they're a coach because they get a lot of validation. So I think it's some pulse checks we need to have.
That's so good. That one hits home for me. This is one of the most common forms of self-sabotage that I see, not in the process, but certainly I see it for the folks who hire me to do like the done for you services, probably more than the do it yourself community and that side of my service offers. And I see it post-contract. I see it in the gap between when everything is completed and when it's time to full send, because there's this crisis of what is this community for? And there will be a lot of subconscious resistance to this community being for anything other than my new audience, my new exclusive audience, my very private fan club. Mm-hmm. And what are some questions that you can offer to community creators like myself who are also in their own right experts and have maybe developed content and frameworks and like, look, the rules of kickball, right? It's like you've created this community where people are practicing kickball, but they had to learn the rules first. And so let's say for the people who are like, well, I am teaching people on this expertise. Do I want a community where now they're practicing it and I'm not at the center of guiding and instructing and correcting? What are some questions that these people could ask to really understand what their true motivations might be?
Yeah, I think there's a big difference between, are you creating a group program that is ongoing? Or are you creating a community? Or are you creating a membership? I think community and membership are very different. We have a community in Recess. It feels like community. It's truly people getting together and connecting. That is like forefront. Whatever it's around, doesn't matter. But as long as it's about a community, it's about the collective, that's a community. It is also happening to be a membership because they pay quarterly. But a membership isn't always a community. Just because you have this stuff that's available at a subscription, that they have access to it only if they pay monthly or quarterly, doesn't mean there's community within that. Like I'm in a financial program right now that's a year-long thing. It's in Circle, it does all the things, but it's not about community. Like you can try, you can go to the member portal thing and go Instagram DM every person if you're really proactive, but it does not happen naturally. So I think there's a big difference between those. And sure, if you want to have just content and you're teaching a framework, you have a membership. But it's not necessarily a community unless you're creating that piece very specifically, which has to be outside of you. I don't know if that answers it.
That's a good distinction. I would offer up a slight amendment in my perception, which is community to me is like the broad umbrella of these experiences, which are a combination of education and connection. And you might actually have a group program that is more heavy on the education than it is the connection. And I would still classify that as a communal experience or community even. On the connection-centric side, I see memberships as like a specific method through which we execute communities that are connection-centric. Usually, you can also technically have education-centric memberships. And I think that's probably what you're saying on that last point, is you might have content and frameworks and things that you're teaching people inside of your membership. They're more education-centric. The value is coming from you and your intended educational journey more than it's coming from the connections between your members. So the only differentiator I would offer is looking at community as a combination of education and connection. Both are important, but what you're saying and what you've built is a community that is founded in connection, which has a ton of strengths, primarily that it's not entirely dependent just on you. You have an eternal wealth of knowledge and value being created there.
No, I think that's a great distinction. And neither one is wrong, right? Any percentage of connection versus education, great. Just own it. But if people aren't connecting, then that tells you you need to feed that piece of the pie a little bit more. Doesn't mean it's wrong, but you have to decide, what's my energy? Do I want to be the backbone of this? Or, like I always say on the recess calls, we're building this together. This isn't mine. This is us. Your feedback is so welcome here. It's those little things that you even say, or the way you set up your community, whatever it is.
Yes. Oh, you talk about this so much in the Amber community, because it's a real art and it's a dance, and it's understanding what's going to bring you life, and also the value that you're creating for your members, also what they are ready for. Because like for a lot of you right now, if you just threw people onto a field and were like, go play kickball, they'd be like, what are you talking about? I don't even know how to do that. I just need somebody to teach me how to play kickball. Create the container where we can teach them how to play kickball. So it totally depends on where you're at, what you want your role to be. Two kind of questions that I would use to help our listener discern if an education-centric model or a connection-centric model is better for them. And there's a lot of pros and cons to each, but a couple questions just to distill down for your personality and your energy. One is, make a list of all the communities that you're a part of right now and notice, are they education-centric or are they connection-centric? And again, it doesn't mean that just because there's education, there's not connection happening, but just majority. And the other thing to observe is, do you identify more as an educator, as a guide, as someone who, even a thought leader, or do you identify more closely as a connector, as a facilitator? And you might lie to yourself. So answer this question today and then come back and answer it 3 months from now, because even me, who has identified as a community strategist, facilitator, connector for years now, I had a really pivotal kind of transformative moment in my community where I realized I wasn't owning my skills and gifts as a connector. And it was like a really fundamental shift for me, where I was like, oh, I have some natural and developed skills around connecting people that I have been really hesitant to own. And that totally informed how I saw my community and what types of programs I wanted to bring next.
Yeah. And I think too, for example, I am a coach fully. However, in recess, I don't want to be the coach. So I think it's interesting too, of yes, I identify with the coach, but in this space, I'm deciding to be the facilitator, because I don't have the energy to be a coach 30 days of the month, 12 months a year. I think it goes back to taking myself out of the equation. Just kind of mix the flour and the sugar before you put the eggs in. What is this going to be? What do my people need? And how do I fit into that? So for me, it was like, okay, I'm running these retreats all around the world. There's something to having this space where they're not thinking about work. They're not learning another thing. They're just in it with people who get it. So how can I bring that to an online space? I also do these mixers for alumni that literally people just introduce themselves and connect and they love it. How can I bring that there? I'm seeing my people want a space where they just get to be and not sold to. They want like the true community feel. How am I blending that? Okay, my master classes, when they connect, how am I putting that into this? Then who am I in that? And once all those core values, all the ethos, all the things came together, it's like, this isn't about coaching. So it's more about the product development, and does it make sense? Are you creating something they really need? Or are you just going, I'm a coach, or I'm a nutritionist, or I'm this, and so I'm going to build this thing around my offer instead of creating something like its own entity, maybe?
Yeah, no maybes. That makes total sense to me. So one, I heard deep empathy into what your members need and finding the trifecta of what people need, what is going to support your business, and then what your sweet spot is. And I heard you say, even though you have this identity as a coach, so much of the value that you noticed you were creating for people were these connection-centric containers. Like, I see that. I'm hearing you say that's what was really unique and distinguished about the containers you were creating, is that they were so connection-centric. And you're like, wait a second. Okay, I'm already heard this. People expect this of me. And I'm noticing that they're asking for a little bit more of it or in a different way. So I love the fluidity with which you just described that. To me, it sounded like someone in deep flow and awareness of the people around them and their own gifts and talents and how you can serve people.
Yeah. As you were talking, I'm like, the people in your audience can create such unique memberships and communities. It can be anything you want. Like, I added like a private podcast with my astrologer. I was like, why not? The core value is play. I can do whatever I want. And so, yeah, just not locking yourself into what you're seeing everywhere else. Like, truly, Recess is something I didn't see anywhere else. And my coaches didn't tell me to make. I really went against them. A lot of people told me it should be only for alumni, or it should be a free group. And I think I made like 38,000 last year in the first year on Recess. And I just find it hilarious. That could have been a free Facebook group that would probably have fizzled out in
Say more about
a month
the free
or so.
Facebook group. Say more about why you decided to make it paid.
Resentment. 100%. Like,
I would hate you guys.
energy exchange is so real. Just like you said, family discounts don't work because you're doing yourself a disservice and them a disservice. When people are not bought in, they're not going to be there. They might bop in here once in a while. It's like an open house party is very different from a wedding invitation. But a wedding, your seat is reserved. Someone's paying for your plate. You better be there or not. You can't just show up.
Yep.
But a house party, it's like, yeah, maybe I'll come. Maybe I'll come an hour late. Maybe I'll come 2 hours late. Maybe I just won't show up at all if something better comes along. If you're not invested, if you don't have the RSVP, you're going to be preaching to no one. It's going to fizzle out. You're going to do so much work for free. And sure, it's your funnel. But I don't know, I'm F the funnels. Like, yes, they work. Yes, they're important. But if we're getting stuck in that, our creation is getting stuck because we're like, but how does it fit into the funnel? That's just a disservice to our creativity.
Nobody can see me right now except for Diana, but I'm just smiling. And if you have listened to other episodes of Dear Bri, you're going to know that I'm just delighted by this conversation. I don't believe, unless your community is supporting a paid product, like a physical or technological product, I don't believe that your community is nurturing and funneling your customers like you think it is. And so everything you said here aligns. And that's pretty remarkable to have to go against the grain, because this is also very common for advisors or strategists. It's changing a little bit, but the kind of expectation is that your community should be free and it should be built in a place where, quote, everyone already is, to make it super easy. And just like on our way out of Target buying toilet paper, we stop in at the Starbucks and grab some coffee. They pop into your community and gather some little nuggets. I think it just does a disservice. The transformation that we are seeking in our communities is just too big and just too important to be something that people accidentally click into because they're bored. It has to be a commitment. People have to show up. I believe this both for my membership communities that I build online. And it's how I orient myself in my local community here. When we host events, I tell people, you have to RSVP to me. And then I check in 2 days before. And like, I have an expectation for folks because I'm like, I'm a really good fucking friend. Like, I am a really good friend. And if you're going to be my friend, you also have to show up. Like, I have standards, I have boundaries, because I'm like, what we're doing here is too good for people to be wish-washy or wasting my time or ghosting. And I feel that in my personal life, and I feel it in my online communities as well.
Yeah. Like the substitute teacher vibe. You know, when you have a substitute teacher and the kids just know they can push it. It's the same. If you don't have boundaries, you're not setting the container. You're like, I know coaches that say every single time, if you're 5 minutes early, you're late. And you show up for those. And I tell people, your camera is on. I need your I'm strict teacher vibe. It's like, we got to set this container. And part of the reason, every little thing from your camera being on to no, you don't get a free 2 weeks. No, we don't do that anymore because you don't get to just come in and come out. You don't get to come in for the first course of dinner and leave before dessert. Sorry, you either commit or you don't.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. It's just figure out your core values. I always, because I'm a creative, I look at it as a paint palette. Paint everything with those core values. Everything. From where are you getting coffee to your brand colors of your community to we did a quarterly membership because we wanted to feel safe and people to commit. And if you don't want to commit for 3 months, then you don't get to be in it. The 2-week trial was the worst thing ever. Like people coming in and out in 2 weeks and canceling. No, thanks. No.
Yes. And it's just a sad reality of our culture that people place more value on the things that they have paid for monetarily. And what's so tricky about community, but also so amazing about community, is that the way each member shows up not only dramatically impacts their experience, but it now impacts everyone else's experience. This isn't just like a low stakes, oh, they bought a course and if they don't go through it, they don't get the value, but whatever, it's just their loss. This is like they bought it, now they're not showing up, and it doesn't just affect their experience, it affects everyone in the room because now we're not getting the goodness and the glory of their presence. And so how you posture your members to interact and participate in your community, all the way down to the pricing and the frequency and the expectations that you set in onboarding, it's all important. And it all creates this result that we're talking about, which is you've designed an amazing space. I can tell just from all the elements that you've shared here that it sounds pretty amazing. I think I need to join.
What has worked, just a little side note, if anyone, this is helpful, what has worked. So for example, we do these mixers. We have done them for free, like open to the public. That also provides just like a way in the door. You get your piece of pie and then you exit through the back door, which sucks. It's like, they're like, oh, I'll just get all the contacts and get to go for free. The last one I did instead, just a +1 only. So I could directly invite people with the link and members could directly invite people with the link. And then we did offer a quarter for half off, but you have to stay for the 3 months. So that really worked. We were like, you came to the mixer, you saw the goodness, you coming to the mixer provides the members value because they're meeting more people that aren't in recess. And then you get the half off a quarter, 48 hours, it goes away, done. So that was a really awesome thing that worked for us.
I love that. I love using events sparingly, but using events as your cheese plate, as your little appetizer, as your little cheese taste tester for what this community feels like, what it is. Because when you're synchronous on a call, you're all together, that energy just feels totally different than inviting somebody into a static asynchronous channel where they're like, even if your community is like really full and vibrant, at the wrong moment, it can feel like really empty and dead and lacking in response. So collecting that into an event and offering that to the public is my favorite mechanism. You nailed it.
Yeah.
Diana, This is fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing the insights that you did. Do you have any parting words of advice for our dear friends seeking community connection?
Don't be afraid to have conversations with your people, the community. Like if engagement is down, go talk to them, go engage. And not just in the community, in the DMs or whatever it takes. If you're, I don't recommend texting clients, but get in their pocket and remind them what they're missing. For a while for me, I was scared to go remind them when it first launched. I was scared to go remind them in case they like forgot that they were paying. And then if I go remind them, they remember, oh shit, you're right. I don't use that community. I'm going to go cancel. That was like a big fear I had to get over, or even hearing or seeing the cancellations come through as they do.
Yep.
It was like my nervous system for about 6 months was not okay with that. And I just had to be like, cool, like great. And a lot of people come back, but don't be afraid to just nudge people and provide reasons how they can show up in that community and why it's valuable. Like almost every call, I tell people, the more vulnerable you are, the more you're going to get out of this. As in, instead of just promoting your thing in the shameless self-promo channel, go in and be like, I'm building this and this is what I'm challenged by. I would love your advice. So it's like you're teaching them how to be in the community. So we just have to, just like you said, we have to teach them to play kickball. Even though we know how to play kickball, doesn't mean they do. And it takes some educating. Like I've had it for over a year, and most of the people on the call that I've been talking about that happened today have been in it a long time. And I just did another walkthrough of the Circle platform, screen shared on the Zoom before we got started. I was like, I just feel like some of you need to know this because you probably have never even opened it. So don't be afraid to repeat yourself. Just like we need to sell multiple times, we have to educate and nudge our people. And if that's not your jam, then hire someone to do it or offer them to do it in exchange for being in your community.
It's really good. I also love, as a little tip, to ask questions based on the types of actions you want to see members take. So I'll give you an example. At the start of our group coaching call, I'll ask, who is someone who showed up generously for you in the community in the last couple of weeks? Or I'll ask, who here has an example of how they've showed up in this community with vulnerability?
Ooh.
And you wait and you pause. And you also say, if nothing came to mind, this is your homework for the next week.
I love that. It's very teaching them how to fish.
But you have to be brave enough to know that you might have to embrace the discomfort that like maybe no one has anything to say about how they were vulnerable this week. And like you have to be committed to embracing that tension and letting it teach your members what it needs to. And it can feel so uncomfortable and even embarrassing for yourself. And that is so necessary to get to the good, juicy harvest.
I love it. So good.
We could go on and on, but it is time. It is time for our extended edition lightning round of questions. Everyone will get access to this when they sign up for the Secret podcast, and you'll get to see our beautiful faces. I always love like seeing what somebody actually looks like after listening to them and becoming like best friends in my earbuds. So get all that and more when you sign up for the Secret podcast. Diana, can you tell us about a time you almost gave up on your community, but didn't, and what made you stay? What's something your community taught you about yourself that surprised you? If your community did disappear tomorrow, if it burned to the ground, what would be the hardest thing to lose?
Want to know the answers to this lightning round? Sign up for Dear Bri, the extended edition. It's a secret video podcast you only get when you're signed up for the Ember newsletter. You'll hear their answers and put a face to the voice you've just become friends with over the last hour. Click on the link inside the show notes to join.
Diana, it's been a delight to have you on this podcast. Thank you for joining me. You have such a steady, wise, presence. I've loved riffing with you and seeing your work and the light that you bring. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was truly an honor and so fun as well. And I think this is going to be so valuable for my people too. So I'm excited.
I can already think of several people I'm excited to send this to.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for sharing some space with me on this episode. Please like and review wherever you find your podcasts. To submit your own community conundrum, fiasco, or other drama, go to the link in the show notes. Aloha and catch you next time.